My name is Lewanika McDonald, and I think I've been an activist for all of my adult life. In the early 2000s, we felt that Zimbabwe was not being governed democratically. We felt that there was no accountability where the state was concerned, and that things needed to change for people's lives to improve. Unfortunately, almost 20 years later, that situation hasn't changed. Our own personal circumstances have changed. So whereas in the early 2000s, I was fighting for my future as a young man, now the struggle really is about the next generation of Zimbabweans. And unfortunately, I have been part to bringing part of that next generation into existence. So I'm now a father, and it is for my children that I have to continue pushing to make things better in this country. That's part of what keeps me going, knowing that I have a responsibility, or as a generation, we have a responsibility to the next one to leave this country or the world in a better place and frame than the one that we found it in. It's not an easy journey, and for a person who loves challenges like myself, it then becomes part of the impetus, trying to see how we can change what we do in order to achieve the results that we wanted. My participation in the constitution-making process and the fight for a new constitutional dispensation in Zimbabwe ultimately led in 2013 to the coming into existence for the first time, 33 years after independence, of a homegrown constitution in Zimbabwe, a new constitutional dispensation. And I think shy of changing governments, changing systems, frameworks, and having in place a new democratic constitution is one of those high points that I would point, not just for myself, but for my generation of activists. But outside these seminal moments and achievements that are easily discernible, one of the things that I really celebrate and I'm proud of as an activist is the ability of the work that I have been engaged in over time to build community, to build a community of shared values, to build a community that believes that democracy and democratization is possible in our lifetime in Zimbabwe. And it's not an achievement that you can be able to touch and feel, but it's certainly something that I am proud to have been a part of. It is a collection or a network of individual accountability labs in different countries across the globe to show people what good governance would look like, to show people what integrity would look like, and to bring diverse voices into the conversation around accountability and integrity. And there have been many insights for me to reflect on, including regrets and moments of triumph. Amongst the things that I think have been most challenging for me, our inability as activists to be able to be kind to ourselves. So, when you are engaged in a struggle, especially a struggle for democratization, and if you don't achieve it, you may be engulfed by an overwhelming sense of failure, to acknowledge that even though those kinds of lofty goals have not been achieved, while this country is still far from democratization, a lot of the work that we put in did push the needle and move the country forward towards a better state. We usually laugh and say that participation in the struggle for social justice, democratization, and good governance is often a thankless occupation. That I got expelled from university in 2002, I think, for leading the students' movement after a series of demonstrations around privatization of education and the general political context in the country. When it happened, we were celebrated as heroes, self-sacrificing heroes. You have sacrificed your education for the cause of other students. But several years down the line, I remember there were several newspaper articles that came out alleging that I had no right to lead a national movement because I was uneducated. But people have forgotten that you are uneducated not because you are inept, but because you were victimized on account of your participation in the people's struggle. So it is it's rather thankless, and sometimes the people that you're fighting for do tend to forget. In times like that, one just has to remember that you're not doing it for accolades, you're not doing it so that people say thank you, you're doing it for yourself and the next generation. And unfortunately for myself, I'm a hopeless optimist. I believe that things can always be better. I believe that things can be changed, can always change. I believe in constant change and improvement. I think if you asked me this question 2-3 years ago, I would have said with a very definitive sense that it seems like democracy is on the decline, the rise of different forms of nationalisms, right-wing governments across the globe, the entrenchment of dictators across the world, especially on our continent, did paint that pessimistic picture. But already we can see that we are turning over new leaves in some areas where democracy seems to be in decline geographically. So for as long as we are fighting, for as long as we get up to go, for as long as there's a community to sponsor those fights, I will always have hope that things can be better where democratization and good governance in the world is concerned.